our systematic study Shrimad Bhagwatam class this evening. We will begin our class with Mangalacharana prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganar Gunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Dalita Sri Visakhanvitanscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratu Se Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nastaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So today we will begin lesson 12, Lord Krishna Manifest Material World. So text 30 to 34 describes about Lord Krishna's manifestation of this material world. So these are the last few verses of the chapter 2 of second canto. So today we'll begin from this text 30. So far we have done up to 29. So from the previous verses, it is concluded that only Lord Krishna is to be worshipped, especially verse 28 and 29. Make it clear that Bhagavan is also known as Vasudeva, Vasudev means son of Vasudev. Okay? And to understand him is the ultimate goal of Vedas. As you remember, we recited that verse last time, which is very nice verse, which is here. We will do it. I will recite it today again, just to emphasize the importance of Krishna is only to be worshipped. Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramakha Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriya Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapa Vasudeva Paro Dharmo Vasudeva Paragatihi. What it means, in the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion means dharma is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. So, yesterday we ended with this verse establishing the Lord Krishna's supremacy. And now, today, we will know that how he created or manifested this material world, kind of a glimpse of it. And in the next chapter, we will learn more about his creation through different incarnations. So this text 30 will recite first, and I will explain it to you. Saye vedam sasar jagre Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Sad Asad Rupaya Chaso Gunamaya Guno Vibhuhu. So this verse says, in the beginning of material creation. So there was nothing, but when the creation takes place, that absolute personality of a Godhead, Vasudev, which we discussed in previous verse, right, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. So Krishna possesses so many energies, okay? Although Krishna is invisible to us in our present state, we can perceive his presence through his energies, which are everywhere. Although innumerable, his energies fall into three primary categories. And I will tell you these three primary categories. Lord Krishna possesses so many energies, but they call it innumerable, means you cannot even count it. But there are three primary category, which are called internal energy, external energy, and marginal energy. So I will tell you a little bit about it. So internal energy, Krishna's internal energy expands as the spiritual world, all its variety, including his ever liberated associates there. The internal energy is eternal and full of knowledge and happiness. Presently, beyond our perception, the spiritual world makes up most of reality. Basically, he maintains and creates and he performs his pastimes through his internal energy. Okay. Now, external energy. What does that mean? So Krishna's external energy consists of all that is matter. That what we see in this material world, matter, the material world, the laws of material nature, material bodies, and so on. The external energy is temporary and full of ignorance and suffering. It is inert by nature and must be moved by spirit. The matter, the material world is a tiny fraction of God's creation. So we'll next week we will learn about that there is a whole spiritual sky, but the material world is a tiny portion uh, from the whole manifestation of the Lord. And then about marginal energy, okay, which is in between. So uh, margin, who is margin? We are the margin energy, the soul. We finite spirit soul, we are soul, so we are all expansions of Krishna's marginal energy, as he says in Gita, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So we can choose to live in the spiritual world or to the material world, and somehow or other we chose to live in material world, so we are here. So to put it another way, we can be deluded by matter or illusory energy of Krishna. Both the external energy, means matter, and the marginal energy, means the souls that we are, can become fully spiritualized by contact with the internal energy through acts of devotion. So that is why it is necessary. In this material world, we are marginal energy, but if we get in touch with devotional service, as we discussed earlier, and we will discuss some more about it, then we also can get spiritualized. So the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, and no one is found to be equal to or greater than him. For everything is done naturally and systematically by his various energies. Okay. So as you can see, Sutta explains in this verse that the same Vasudev act as Vishnu, the source of all material world. He always aloof from his material energy, and he creates universes through his energies and expansions. Okay, so there he uses his, we will see how he uses his Purus avatar, Vishnu form. So Krishna and Vishnu, there is no difference. We will see that. So the next verse will tell us about more about this thing. It will tell you about Taya Vilasitesu Esu Gunesu Gunavan Iva Antah pravista abhati vignanena vrijumbitaha. Lord says here, the Sutta Goswami describes here, after creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudev expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created being, is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. So we can see when he expands his substance, then he enters into it. So it is explained in this purport. We will see that, and I will explain it to you as we go along. The living entities are separated part and parcel of the Lord, and the conditioned living entities who are unfit for the spiritual kingdom are strewn within the material world to enjoy matter to the fullest extent. So yesterday also I told you about there are two divisions of Krishna. One is separated energy, that is we are, and another one is integrated parts of Krishna. We learned that yesterday. So after we are separated part and parcel, and somehow or other we are in this material world to enjoy the matter. you know. But as Paramatma, an eternal friend of living entity, okay, the Lord, by one of his plenary portion, accompanies the living entities to guide them in their material enjoyment and to become witness to all activities. He is so merciful that even though we are in this material world, enjoying material world, but he cares for us so much because he's our supreme father. So as a Paramatma feature and his eternal friend for all of us, okay, he comes here with us and he helps us in our material enjoyment, and also he becomes the witness of all our activities that we do. So while the living entities enjoy this material condition, the Lord maintains his transcendental position without being affected by material atmosphere. Now, so even though he comes here to help us, he will not get affected by the modes of material nature because he is transcendental. Okay. So in the Vedic literature, it is said that there are two birds in one tree. So you have to remember this. This is a part of your homework questions you have to explain. So two birds on a tree. Okay. So this analogy is, what is that two birds? So one bird is living entity, means we are, and the another bird is the Supreme Lord in a form of Paramatma. So one of them is eating the fruit of tree, that is compared to living entity, means us. So one bird is eating the fruit of a tree while the other is witnessing the action. He is like a witness. The witness is the Lord and the fruit eater is living entity. Now, the fruit eater has forgotten his real identity. See, we have all forgotten our real identity, who we are, you know, and is overwhelmed in the fruitive activities of the material condition. But the Lord Paramatma is always full in transcendental knowledge. That is the difference between the super soul and conditioned soul. So this is two things you have to remember. The difference between super soul and conditioned soul. So conditioned soul means living entity is controlled by the laws of material nature. What is that? This living entity means conditioned soul. They are controlled by laws of material nature. But Paramatma, who is super soul, he is the controller of the material energy. So these are the two distinguishing points that we learn from this verse. Okay. Now we go to the next verse where it says, there is a nice example is given, Rupak allegory. Yatha hi avahito vahanir dar darushu ekah swayonisu naneva bhati visvatma bhutesu cha tathapuman. So meaning of this verse is, the Lord as super soul pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. So here we can see that the super soul pervades all. How it is that the super soul is everywhere? So for example, the example is given here about wood. Okay, in the wood, fire is there, but we cannot see it unless we ignite it, right? It, unless we try to burn it, there is a fire is already there in the wood, but we cannot see it. Okay, so it's nice example is given here. We'll see here how it is explained that Lord Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, by one of his plenary part, expands himself all over the material world, and his existence can be perceived even within the atomic energy. Matter, antimatter, proton, neutron, etc. are all different effects of Paramatma, feature of the Lord. As from wood, fire can be manifested, as a butter can be churned out of milk, so also the presence of Lord as Paramatma can be felt by process of legitimate hearing and chanting of the transcendental subject, which are especially treated in the Vedic literature like Upanishad and Veda. Very nice information is given here, how we can perceive Paramatma. So there are two examples that's given. One is about the wood. So fire can be manifested just as uh, fire can be manifested. Also, butter can be churned out of milk. You see, when you see milk, you cannot see the butter, right? But when you churn it, it will come out. Similarly, you may see the wood, but there is no fire unless you ignite it. Similarly, uh, if we want to recognize Paramatma in our heart, we have to chant something. What do we do? The Shastra says us hearing and chanting process, so by which we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Paramatma feature. So the bottom line is the Lord can be realized through oral reception of the transcendental message. Oral reception. We have to give our ear, to hear the transcendental message of the God. And that is the only way to experience the transcendental subject. As fire is kindled from wood by another fire, nice example again, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace, his divine grace. The spiritual master can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual message injected through the respective ear. So you understand this philosophy means spiritual master gives his disciple this knowledge. That is the process, because the spiritual master is divine. He knows the Vedic knowledge. He can impart that knowledge to living entity. Just like Lord Krishna in the beginning has given this knowledge to Brahma. Okay. And similarly, the realized soul, spiritual master, like his divine grace, they can impart this knowledge to their disciple. Okay. So, therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized. The difference between animality and humanity lies in this process only. Human being can hear properly, whereas animal cannot. So, we have to take advantage of human life, because that is the advantage given in human life, that if we hear from a bona fide spiritual master, we also can understand who Paramatma is, who we are, what is the devotional process, like that. So this is the process of understanding the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Then the next verse will describe about, let me see, we go to 33, where it says, okay, 1 to 33. Asau gunamair bhaver bhuta susmendriyatmabhihi svanirmitesu nirvisto bhunte bhutesu tad gunan. So this verse telling us the super soul enters into the bodies of created being. Okay, we are created being. We have a body. So the super soul enters into our body, in our heart. So super soul is seated with soul. And the example is given earlier verse. It is like two birds. One bird is soul, another bird is super soul. The soul is eating fruits, means enjoying material world, and super soul is witnessing and guiding. Okay, so this is the example given here. So it is explained in the Shastra, we discussed that many times. There are 8.4 million species of living being. How many? 8.4. Brahma creates 8.4 million bodies, beginning from the highest intelligent being Brahma down to the insignificant ant, and all of them are enjoying material world according to the desire of the subtle mind and gross material body. So we have a gross material body, which we know that made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And we possess mind, which is subtle. Okay. And there are 6 varieties of bodies that Brahma created. We learned that also previously, that there are some aquatics, lives in the water, some birds that fly in the air, some animals and men on earth, and some insect and serpents. So that way there are 6 varieties of bodies, and those bodies numbers 8.4 million species. That is given here. So gross material body is based on conditions of the subtle mind, and the senses are created according to the desire of living being. See, our senses are according to our previous desire. We became human, so we got human organ, human senses. Animal got their animal, their senses according to, but the animal senses are not, their consciousness is not fully like human consciousness. So in human body, you got an advantage of utilizing your senses in realizing God, which you will not have in animal body or any other type of body that we discuss. Okay. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings in all varieties of bodies have been claimed by the Lord as his son. In Bhagavad Gita, he says that I am the Bija Pradapita, means I am the seed giving father. He explains that in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now we will move to the another one. Okay, this is the last verse, and then we'll take the summary of all these 4 verses. Okay. Bhavayati yesa satvena lokan vai lokabhavanaha Leelavataro nurato devatiryanaradisu. So, thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, man, and lower animals, assuming the role of incarnation. He performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. So, in this verse, uh, this is the final verse of this chapter. It also gives information about or answer to the third questions of the sages that they asked, that why Lord Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki as a son of Vasudeva. He became Vasudeva. So we will discuss about this little bit. There are innumerable material universes, and each and every universe, there are innumerable planets inhabited by different living entities in different modes of nature. So we will learn next week about the universes, how they created, and many planets. Okay, so this is just like some information here given, but we will learn that in detail next week. Now, sometimes Lord incarnates himself or empowers suitable living entity to act for him. But in either case, the purpose is same. What is the purpose? The Lord wants this suffering living being go back home, back to Godhead. Okay. So basically, I'm trying to bring up the point here that Suta Goswami in this verse 30 to 34 describes the creation process. Okay. So Vasudev, who is son of Vasudev, Krishna, manifests material world in his 3 Vishnu feature. And these 3 Vishnu feature, I name them. which is called Purus Avtaras. We will learn so many Avtaras next week, but Purus Avatar are three. One of them is Karanodaksai Vishnu, second one is Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and third is Ksirodaksai Vishnu. Okay. So Sutta Goswami explains that Krishna acts as Vishnu, the source of this material world. So Krishna and Vishnu are same. There is no difference between them. And Krishna as Vishnu creates universes through the energies and expansions. Through his internal energy and through his expansion in incarnations, he maintains and creates this material world. So we can see Vishnu is very extraordinary personality. He desires to enjoy matter, but he is not attracted or entangled by material energy like we do. We get attracted with material energy. We are entangled into these three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, but he is not. So the example is given for that thing. For example, let us see if the president of the country goes to the prison house to check out the prisoners, to see them. So the president will not get affected. He is not a prisoner, when he enters into the prison. Similarly, Lord Krishna, when he enters into this material world, he will not get affected by the three modes of material nature. Very nice example is given here. So whether Krishna is creating universes or acting as an ordinary living entity, his activities are always transcendental, means above the three modes of material nature. So in the 10th canto, we will uh, see that uh, how Krishna wrestles with his cowherd boyfriend. I mean, there are so many activities in childhood that he does. Even he fights with his friends, he plays with his friends, he uh, does picnic with his friends, and also he kills some of the demons there. So it is, and also he dances with the cowherd girls. So in the Vedic literature, it is mentioned that we learn about this thing. There are two birds in a tree. One is witnessing. We discuss about that point. So that is the difference between the super soul and the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is controlled by the laws of nature, while the super soul is the controller of the material energy. Now, super soul presence can be experienced by the process of hearing and chanting of the transcendental subject of Lord Krishna. We learned that also. So therefore, one is required to approach proper spiritual master with receptive ear only. Then the super soul enters into the bodies of created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them uh, to enjoy the effects of those modes of subtle mind. And Lord Vishnu maintains all planets, assuming the role of incarnations, and those incarnations will be able to do it. We will be able to study that next week. Okay, different incarnations. So uh, now I will summarize what we have learned today, as well as the whole second chapter, few points about it. Okay. So today we learn about, in verse 30 to 34, how Lord Krishna manifest the material world. Okay. So he manifests the material world by expanding into Purusavtaras, okay, and which are already said, Karanodakshai, Garbhodakshai, and Ksharodakshai Vishnu. Now, what is the function of super soul? So I explained that also, that the super soul, with our soul, he guides us and he's witness our activity. Okay. Then, who controls the conditioned living entity? So we also learn about the laws of material nature controls the conditioned living entity. But then who controls the material energy? The super soul controls the material energy. And then we learn about there are 8.4 million species in this material world. And the living entity have two body, gross body and material body. And then how the Supreme Lord maintains all planets by assuming the roles of incarnations. That is the way he maintains all planets. And what does Supreme Lord do to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness? So he performs the pastime by which the living entity get attracted to him, and thus he helps us to go to the spiritual world. Okay, so now today we are ending this chapter 2. So I would like to go over briefly in the whole chapter what we have learned. Okay, so thematically or sequence wise, we can see that in the beginning, Sutta Goswami expresses his feelings of gratitude towards sages because they ask very good questions by which uh, Sutta Goswami can explain them about Krishna. So before he prepared to speak, he offered his obeisances to Sukadeva Goswami and the four personalities, Narayan, Nar Narayan, Saraswati, goddess of learning, and also the author Sila Vyasdev, right? And then also there are some themes described here. For example, offering obeisances. So the key message in that is given that by offering obeisances to Lord Krishna and the devotees who are representative of the Lord, we recognize and appreciate that they are guiding us as they give the transcendental knowledge in the form of Shrimad Bhagwatam. Okay? And the purpose of human life is discussed. Purpose of human life is self-realization and not material advancement. So the human form of life is very, very valuable. So we need to make sure that we use it wisely and do not waste this rare opportunity. If we just use our life to perform material activity, then we are just wasting our time as it won't benefit us spiritually. Then we also learn about devotional service and the four important steps, okay, which I'm going to discuss now. 4 steps secret to success. So there are 4 main devotional practices that are very powerful, and they are hearing, glorifying, remembering, and worshipping. I will repeat them again. They are very important steps. Hearing about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, remembering Krishna, worshipping Krishna. They are the 4 important steps to increase our devotion and go back to spiritual world. By performing these, we can actually become freed from all our past sinful habit and advance very, very quickly in a devotional service. Then service leads to eagerness to hear. When we serve these devotees, it helps us. Uh, it will increase our eagerness to hear about Krishna. So this eagerness to hear is a gift that is given to us when we serve pure devotees of the Lord. When we become eager to hear, Lord Krishna, who is sitting in our heart, acts from within by purifying our hearts and giving us knowledge so that we may easily go back to Him. So that is why service to the devotees of the Lord is very, very important. Just like uh, we have heard about that Narad Muni in his previous life served the Mahabhagavatas and he got his spiritual body. Then the Lord helps us when He sees us trying. Very important point. If we want to get help from Lord, we need to show that we are sincere. The Lord, who is sitting in our heart, personally takes charge of cleaning our heart. When He sees that we are eager to know about Him and serve Him and His devotees. Although it is very difficult to get rid of selfish desire, when the Lord helps, the whole process becomes easy. So we have to depend on the God and we have to help serve Him, serve His devotee, and that way then He will take interest in us and He will clean our heart of our sinful reaction, our sinful desire, like that. And uh, regarding three modes of material nature, it is possible to understand Krishna when we are freed from the modes of material nature. And those material natures are goodness, passion, and ignorance. We should rise to the platform of mode of pure goodness to get to the stage of devotional service, which is above the three modes of material nature. Okay. So this is the sum and substance of the whole chapter 2 that we have learned. Now we will recite the previous verses that I have given you in the beginning, just for practice, and then we'll take questions from you, and then you can play the Kahoot game. Okay, so you are ready to recite the verses. This is the verse 1 that we have recited in the beginning. Komara acharet pragno. Okay, so let's see. Mataji, if you have it, you can display it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Um, my mother's actually not home, so she's actually stuck in traffic. So it's
Okay.
like
So anyway, I will recite. You probably have as your homework that sheet, so you can refer that and recite after me. Okay. Kaumaro acharet pragno
Komara acharet pragna
dharman bhagavatan iha
dharma parpagavaniha
durlabam manusam janma
urdhamman samjanma
tad api adruvam arthadam.
tadapi atam shadam.
Okay, so you already have gotten this verse. So for practice, I am helping you. Let's recite one more time. Omara acharet pragno
Komara acharet pragna
dharman bhagavataniha
dharman bhagavataniha
durlabam manusam deho.
dullabham manusam janma
Sorry, durlabam manusam janma
brahmanusam janma
tad api adruvam arthadam. Okay, second verse. Harer Nama, Harer Nama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Harer Nama Eva Kevalam,
Hare Rama, Eva Kevalam,
Kalau Nasteva Nasteva,
Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva,
Nasteva Gatiranyatha.
Nasteva, Gatiranyata.
Very good. So, next verse. Aishwaryasya samagrasya
ऐश्वर्यस्य च
Iryasya yasa sahasriyaha
वीर्यस्य च
Jnana-vairagyaschaiva
ज्ञानवैराग्यश्चैव
Sannam bhaga itingana. Very good. So now uh, we can open up the session for your questions. And then Mika, who will play the Kahoot game? Are we playing Kahoot game today?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Radhika Kasturi Mataji will play
Okay.
it.
So let's go for question answer session, and then after that we'll do the Kahoot game. Okay. So raise your hand and you can unmute yourself and ask the questions one by
Um,
one. Mika will tell you. She will tell you the name one by one.
Jyotsna, please unmute yourself, and then Neharshri.
I partly missed some of the the like what you've tried saying like I missed when you said the summarization of the 12th chapter, so could you repeat that?
Yes. What about
Could you just repeat a bit of the summarization for the 12th chapter? I missed that one.
summarization of second chapter? The whole
Um,
chapter, you
oh,
mean?
not the second chapter. I mean the 12th lesson.
The lesson that we just learned.
Oh, lesson just we learned. Okay, yeah, I can summarize that. You are okay. So we learned today 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34. Okay. So the summary is that actually Sudha Goswami describes the creation process in this verse briefly. We're going to learn that next week and on regarding the creation of material world. But in these 5 verses, he gives some synopsis of creation. So Vasudev, son of Vasudev, Krishna, manifests this material world in his 3 features. And those 3 features are Purusha avatar, which is Karanodaksai Vishnu, Kshirodaksai, Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and Kshirodaksai Vishnu. Okay. So we should know that Krishna and Vishnu, there is no difference between them. Krishna as Vishnu creates the universes through the energies and expansions. He through his internal energy and expansions. So actually, he desires to enjoy matter, and that is why he comes here. But he is not affected by the material world also. So I gave that example, like a president of the king entering into prison doesn't mean that he get prisoner, because he sometimes goes there for the routine checkup on prisoners, So that is his duty that he's doing, but that does not become that he's become prisoner. Similarly, Lord Krishna, when he comes to this material world, he performs his pastime to help us to getting back to the spiritual world, like that. So whether Krishna is creating universes or acting as an ordinary living entity that we see, his activities are always transcendental, because in the 10th canto, it is described that he sometimes plays with his boyfriends, he wrestles with them, he does the picnic with them, he sometimes kills the demons. Okay, he plays pastimes with his lot of other friends in the Vrindavan. He also give pleasure to his mother and father. So in the Vedic literature, it is mentioned that there are 2 birds, on one tree. One of them is eating the fruit of the tree, while the other is witnessing the actions. And the witness is Lord, and the fruit eater is the living entity. And the fruit eater has forgotten his real identity and is busy in fruitive activity. But the Lord, as a super soul, is always full of transcendental knowledge. That is difference between super soul and conditioned soul. So conditioned soul is controlled by laws of material nature, while super soul is the control of material nature. And also the super soul is pervades everywhere. He's all pervasive. His presence is everywhere. The super soul's presence can be experienced by the process of hearing and chanting of the transcendental subject of Lord Krishna. Therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with receptive ears only. So, uh, just like if we want to pursue Paramatma or understand Lord Krishna, we have to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And when we hear from him and when we understand the uh, aspects of the devotional service and we follow that devotional service, we also will be able to realize him. So that is the essence of uh, today's verses that we have learned. Okay, next question. Anybody have Neha Sri?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So my question is, so people say that from Sakti, Lord Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu come, but how the process happened?
Bridget, you are breaking up. Can you repeat your question?
So people say that from Sakti, Lord Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu come, but how the process happened?
Oh, so the Lord takes the uh, material quality of goodness and he becomes Vishnu. And when he takes the passion mode, he takes the Brahma's form. And then when he takes the ignorance, he takes the Lord Shiva's form. The same Vishnu, same in a different, by adapting different modes of material nature, they perform different function. Because Brahma's function is creation, Lord Krishna's, Lord Vishnu's form is to maintain, and Lord Shiva's is to destroy. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Okay, so you all ready for your Kahoot game now?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Like you said that we can realize like Paramatma as super soul of like Krishna. Lord Krishna is a super soul. So as Paramatma, how can we know like what Paramatma is saying? Like you said that Paramatma is instructing us. So then how can we understand what is the Paramatma instructing us?
Yes, so it is said that Paramatma, as a super soul in our heart, always guiding us, but sometimes we ignore it. In other words, sometimes we feel it that, we if you want to do something, but something is prohibiting us to do that. So that is some instinct. So that instinct that we feel, that is the instruction from Paramatma. Now, sometimes some people, if we want to do it anyway, we may ignore it, but we always get a signal one way or the other from the Paramatma, because he's always his duty is to guide us, to oversee all our activities, and even he helps us to do our activity, even though we do abominable activity, because uh, our sometimes our heart denies, our conscious denies that, oh, we should not do it, but we do it anyway. So at that time, if you experience somebody from inside, for example, they give many times this example in Mahabharata, that Duryodhan, he says that I know the dharma and I know the adharma also, but somehow or other I cannot follow dharma and my vritti is to follow adharma. because something in my heart that restricts me, like that. So that instinct he get is from Paramatma. So actually it was Krishna's wish. So Krishna from outside is requesting Duryodhan to give 5 villages for the Pandavas, but from inside he is helping him to deny this thing. So that is how Paramatma helps living entity
Okay, Prabhuji, thank
by
you. Hare
instinct.
Krishna.
Okay. All right. Then if you are ready for Kahoot game, then we will hand over to the Mataji. So she will help you to set up. Hare Krishna Mataji, welcome to.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, all
Hare
glories to
Krishna.
Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Boys are all ready for Kahoot game and they're excited about it.
Wonderful Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Kids, can you see?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Good. Okay, kids. All of you all get ready for Kahoot. Go to kahoot.it and we will see how you're all prepared and how attentive you were during the class. Okay. Kids, are you all with me? Here is the PIN number. Please be ready. 8522606. 8522606. Okay, I see 14 participants. Maybe I'm expecting like 12 people to join.
11, but because I'm not joining, I think 10 people are going to join.
Who's not joining?
Charit, because I have a class.
Okay, Charit.
I'm just going to watch a little bit.
Who's NP?
Nehashri,
Okay.
or not?
Who's NP? Can you clarify?
Mataji, NP means no problem.
No, Prabhuji wanted the names to be on the Kahoot. That's why I'm asking who this is. They don't want to reveal. Is it Nihal?
Yeah, I think it's his.
Yes.
initials.
Nihal.
Yeah.
Okay, Nihal. Okay.
N is his first name, and then P is his last name.
All right, no problem. Can we get started, kids? I think we are all here. Is anybody in? Not in yet? Okay, we will get started. How Lord Krishna manifests the material world? By expanding into Purushavatar, by expanding into demigods, by expanding as Radharani. Wonderful. Everybody got it right except one person who probably clicked the wrong answer by mistake, I guess. But good job. Okay, here are the top 5. Congratulations. Second question for today. What is the function of the super soul? To please the devotees and non-devotees, to guide and witness the activities of the living entities, to instill fear in the jivas. What is the function of the super soul? Wonderful. Everybody got it right. As Prabhuji was talking, even the last point he mentioned was the super soul. It is there as a friend to guide and witness the activities of the living entity and to inspire the living entity. He was talking about the example of Duryodhana too. So wonderful. Krishna Chinta, Nihal, Nehashri, Ramachandra, and Mihika. Congratulations, guys. Third question for today. Who controls the living entity? The desires of the living entities, the demigods, the laws of material nature. Yes, kids, it is right. Not the desires of the living entities. The desires of the living entities are not controlling the conditioned living entity, but it is the laws of the material nature. The laws of the material nature are controlling the living entity. The material nature, in turn, is controlled by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay, here are the top 5 winners. Congratulations. I know a lot of people have come up, and YRP, you are the highest climber. Yash, congratulations. Fourth question. Who controls the material energy? Demigods, Shiva, Super Soul. Yes, correct. It is the Super Soul that controls the material energy, as I told you. Okay, and here are the top 5. Um, okay, fifth question for today. How many species are there? Can you just look at the numbers and click the right answers? Correct. This is the correct answer. 8.4 million species are there. Okay, something going on with Mihika. Mihika has 5 correct answers in a row. Congratulations, Mihika. Sixth question for today. How many bodies a living entity have? 2, 3, 5, and 4. I think you got varied answers here. We'll see in the next question what those 2 bodies that living entity has. Okay. Many of you all got it wrong. So we will definitely make sure you understand that. Okay, kids. Krishna Chinta is still leading, followed by Ramachandra Jyotsna. Name the 2 bodies of the living entity: gross and small, material and spiritual, gross and subtle body. What are the 2 bodies the living entity has? Last question we saw it was 2 bodies, and we know now are going to see what the 2 bodies are. It is gross and subtle. Okay, and a lot of people marked, one person marked this and 4 people marked this. Okay, it is gross and subtle. And Prabhuji would have talked about what the gross bodies are and what the subtle body is. The gross body is made up of the earth, water, fire, air element, fire, air, ether. And then subtle body, it is the mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the gross and the subtle bodies. So we have Mihika going up, and Jin and Ila, they are the highest climbers. Eighth question for today. How the Supreme Lord maintains all planets? By assuming the role of the incarnation, by assuming the role of demigods, by assuming the roles of the Jivas. Yes, kids, congratulations. All of you all got it right. Wonderful. Okay, here are the top 5. And Krishna Chinta, you have highest answer streak of 8. Ninth question for today. What does the Supreme Lord do to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness? He doesn't perform pastimes. He maintains the planets and universes. He performs pastimes. How does he reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness? Yes, by performing pastimes, he reclaims them. Okay. Uh, so we will see the top 5. Third place goes to Naomi in Rai. In second place, Krishna Chinta. First place goes to Ramachandra. Congratulations. Here are the top 3, and then Nihika and Jyotsna, they are the runner-ups. Wonderful job, guys. Wonderful.
Mataji, I'm in 6th place.
Okay, good, Suraj. I'm just going to quickly share the report here. And here are the report. We have 12 players. And 6th place, right, Suraj, congratulations. Jinn and Neela 7. Yash is 8. Kushi is 9. Nehashri 10. Okay. And Nihal and Gobinda. So here are the list. Congratulations. And Ramachandra and Krishna Chinta, you got 100% right, which is very good. Prabhuji, I think they have scored fairly well today. Did you want to say anything, Prabhuji?
No, it's fine. They did a good job.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Very good. Yeah, I'm happy.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Okay, we will all pay obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare